What's going on, guys? It's Gnosis De La Soul, and I'm back for another video. Today, this topic or presentation is going to be called "Is Fried Food Healthy?" And a lot of us think that, especially so-called vegans, that if you eat like a vegan burger or anything that's if it's all veggies but it's fried, that is healthy, and it's actually not true. In fact, any food that's cooked, myself included, because I'm a vegan actually too. I don't even like using that word, but that's the closest thing I can describe to being eating from nature. Anything that's cooked, right? All cooked food is unhealthy. Now, I don't want to say all, because certain foods, like certain grains, you may have to steam them or cook them lightly in order to release the enzymes or the nutrients. But the majority of cooked food, right? So that's why I'm going to say all, because I don't want to confuse anybody, just to make it a blanket statement. All cooked food is unhealthy. Why is that? When you cook any food, you pretty much incinerate the nutrients, right? So let's just say you have a fire here, right? You have a fire, and then let's just say here's your pot. Right? And then let's just say these are your nutrients. Right? Now this fire is actually going to incinerate or heat up the molecules so much that it's going to release the nutrients in the form of what? In the form of steam. So to be honest with you, all your food that's cooked, the nutrients actually evaporate. So that's what you see, the steam. So the steam is actually the purest form of the nutrients, or all the nutrients is actually evaporated in the steam. Now, if you ever noticed, right, let me just show you something here. Just write that down. All cooked food is unhealthy. Nutrients are released in the steam, right? And if you notice, whenever they make, if you buy distilled water, the process of making distilled water, which is considered the purest water, distilled water is actually steam water. So what you do is, in order to make distilled water, you heat up the regular water, which has a whole bunch of contaminants, bacteria, and micronutrients, etc., minerals, right? And that steamed water, which is the purest water, because that water, once anything is steamed, the most purest form of it is evaporated, and all the heavy elements is left in the pot on the bottom, and the purest form of whatever is steamed is evaporated into the atmosphere, unless you have some type of apparatus that's able to capture this steam, and you're able to capture that steam and condense it into what's called distilled water, or etc., etc. Same thing when you're cooking. Let's just say you're cooking string beans, right? And once you finish cooking the string beans, the leftover water is actually what's going to contain the nutrients, not the string beans itself, not the beans itself. All right, so just letting you guys know. So all cooked food is unhealthy. The moment you add fire to it, it is unhealthy, period. There's no way around that. Like I said, it's maybe one of a couple of foods on the earth where you have to maybe lightly steam it in order to release its enzymes, because the outer layer or the outer cells are very tough. You have to weaken the cell walls in order to release the enzymes, which is also the nutrients, which is the nucleus, right? Now notice, in all cells, right? Let me just draw a cell. In all cells, right? It kind of looks like a bean. Right in the center of the cell, you have what's called a nucleus, right? Or a nuclei. nucleus or nuclei, right? And notice the word nuclei, which is the eye of the cell, which is the mind of the cell, right? Just like your third eye, which is the letter I. You have third eye, right? And you got iPhone, right? The mind of the phone, Android, right? So your eye is considered the mind. So right in the center of the cell, because remember all cells are intelligence, you have what's called something different. The eye, right? Now the eye is the intelligent part. That's actually a DNA code, right? The eye contains the DNA, which is a program that tells your body which nutrient, energy to produce. Okay? Remember, as I explained in my video before, when you consume any food, you're not really consuming the food. That's why you poop out everything that you eat. What you're actually doing is you're only consuming the nuclei or the nucleus inside. And this nuclei is a DNA. Oh man, okay. Now this DNA contains the nuclei, and the nuclei is the program that tells your body which type of DNA program to run. So let's just say you eat an apple, right? And an apple is high in, say, pectin. You're not really consuming the apple. What you're actually doing is you're consuming the DNA of the apple, and the DNA is telling your body to now produce pectin cells or pectin DNA. And then your body releases the pectin DNA throughout your body, and then that's what's called nutrients, and that gets distributed throughout the body. All right. So people think that when you eat food, you're actually consuming the food itself. That's actually not true. You don't consume anything in your body. You only release the DNA program of the food that you eat. Okay. So once we understand that science, and I know that's a very hard concept to get around, very hard, but you know, I will list some books and I will list some references toward the end to let you know that I'm not just making this up. All right, so let's move on with the lesson real fast. But I don't want to make it too long. This is Instagram. I can't really make the videos too long. All right. So once we understand this science, right, now we can understand that when you cook anything, you're exciting the molecules of the cells. You're breaking down the cell walls, and you're releasing the DNA, which is called the nutrients, right? Because if you look at this word nutrients, it also sounds like nucleus, right? Nutrients, nucleus, sounds very similar, right? So when this happens, the nutrients is released into the atmosphere, right? And so what you have left over is just pretty much just dead flesh. And this is what we consume, and we say, we're eating healthy food, and in reality, we're actually consuming nothing. You're not really consuming any nutrients because the nutrients have already been evaporated out of whatever you're cooking. This is why it's very important to eat raw food, okay? Because when you cook the food, you are releasing the nutrients. And the whole point of eating healthy or becoming a so-called vegan is to consume the nutrients. And if you're not consuming the nutrients, you might as well be eating meat, okay? Like, understand this, people. Understand the science, all right? Let me just write this down. Nutrients are released in the steam. All cooked food is unhealthy, right? Nutrients is nucleus. All right? Now this brings me to my next point. So if we understand this, right, that when you cook the food, the nutrients are released. What happens if you fry food? Because cooking food, most of the time when you cook food, you have to cook it in some type of medium, which is mainly known as water, right? Most of the time you cook foods in water, because if you don't, the food that you're cooking will burn to the pot, right? So most of the time we cook food in a medium, which is called water, right? So all cooked food is unhealthy, right? And all cooked food is cooked in water, right? Excuse the, there's some guy, he plays his steel drums every day. I didn't know he was going to start playing it. But I'm just going to continue with the video anyway, because, I already started. So, let's get on to the next topic. Now, if we understand that all cooked food is cooked within water, right? Then we also understand that when you fry food, right? When you fry food is cooked in oil. Okay? So, write this here. Fried food is cooked in oil. Right? Now we know that anything fried is automatically acidic. Automatically. Doesn't matter if it's healthy, whatever it is. If you fry anything, it immediately becomes acidic. It doesn't matter. You could take all the herbs in the world, all the veggies, all the nutrients. The moment you fry it, you immediately destroy the food, right? Because remember I just said, when you fry something, you have to cook it, right? And when you fry something, you're overcooking it. So at least you can steam some veggies lightly and you can still retain most of the nutrients, right? If you steam it, right? Not cooking it, if you steam it, right? But once you fry something, you automatically destroy the nutrients, right? Right? You automatically destroy the nutrients. So let's just say you're cooking French fries, right? Write this down. So you got what? French fries. The word fry is right in there. So you got French fries, you got burgers, you got chips, you have cakes and pastries. Should just write pastries. You can think of something else. You got French fries, burgers, chips, pastries, meat, anything fried, right? Anything fried is automatically acidic. Now, if you look at this right here, this is called the pH scale, right? Write this down. And the pH scale is called the potential of hydrogen. Now, hydrogen is water, right? So, if you notice, everything is made of water, because if you ever had a sun-dried tomato, you notice once the water gets evaporated, it's the size of a raisin. So that means that most of the volume of the fruit in fruits and veggies you eat is mainly water. And once the water is evaporated out, all you're left over with is just the flesh, or the husk, or the outer skin, right? The outer cell walls, right? So if we notice, this is the pH scale. On this side is alkaline, and this side is acidic. Now, the alkaline side is considered the negative side, and the acidic side is considered the positive side. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, oh, shouldn't you consume the positive side, and the positive is good? Not necessarily. Positive doesn't always mean good, and negative doesn't always mean negative. See, this is the concepts, this is the brainwashing that's been going on in schools. They teach you that negative and positive, that positive is good and negative is bad. In actuality, negative is good and positive is bad. And either way you look at it, it doesn't really matter. It's all relative. Because, all women are considered, let me show you something real quick. This side is considered feminine energy, right? This is feminine energy, and this is masculine energy, right? Now, if you notice, women are curvy, right? Women have hips and curves, and men have broad, straight shoulders and strong jawlines, right? Because if you notice, feminine, and you have the word 9 right in there, right? And if you all know, 9 is like this, which is a curve. And then you have masculine, which is a straight line, and we all know men are squares, right? Boxy, right? So just goes to show you, all things are birthed through the yoni, right? I mean, you're pregnant for 9 months. Africa, which is the birthplace of so-called civilization, is in the shape of a 9. Flowers, everything grows in a spiral pattern. So anyway, I'm not going to get into that, but I just wanted to show you that briefly so you can understand what this pH scale really represents. Alright, now the pH scale is called the potential of hydrogen. Let me write that down. Potential of hydrogen. Now, why is this important? What does this have to do with fried food? This has everything to do with fried food. Because once you understand the pH scale, you know how to eat properly. Alright? The pH scale explains so much stuff. It explains life, everything. I'm not getting into that. But anyway, so the pH scale is called the potential of hydrogen, which means the potential of water. Right? Now, anything on this side is considered acidic, acid. And we know acid eats, right? Acid eats away, it consumes, right? If you had you ever seen that movie Saw, when the lady was in a trap, and then the only way to free herself was to get a key, and the key was in a jar of acid, and when she put her hand in the acid started eating away her skin and her flesh. So anytime you pour acid on anything, it eats it away, right? Especially organic material. Acid eats away at organic material, right? Now, if you look at alkaline, our base, right, also known as base, anything that's alkaline is considered aka healthy, right? So you want to consume fruits and veggies or food that is either neutral or alkaline, right? I'm going to write this here. This is called neutral. Now notice neutral's right in the middle, and this would be considered a 7. This would be considered 14, and this would be considered 1 through 6. 1 through 6. All right. Now, anything that you eat on this side of the pH scale is considered acidic, right? And if you notice, if you look at meat is what? Red, right? If you look at a red pepper, it's red, and the pepper is spicy and it burns, right? So look at that. Meat is what? Red. What color is your blood? Red. Right? Anything that's acidic, it's bad for you, right? You don't want to eat foods that's acidic, because again, it eats away. Now, what happens when you eat something that's highly acidic? It's going to destroy the inside of your body, because when you eat anything that's acidic, it's going to consume your organic tissue, which is inside your body, right? So if you're eating French fries, burgers, chips, pastries, meat, or any other food that you could think of that's fried in oil especially, it is going to be considered acidic. Now notice these are the endings for the word acid. Acid can be acidic, right? You have I, you have ate, you have osis, you have isis, and you have os, right? These are all abbreviations for endings of anything that's acidic. I'll give you an example. Acidic is ick. So you have the ick right there, right? So you got ick. Now, then is chloride good? Is fluoride good? Doesn't fluoride calcify your pineal gland? So we have I, right? Fluoride, right? Look, fluoride, right? Chloride, right? And you have 8, right? Like carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are not good, right? To make you fat, right? So the word 8 is right in the word, right? Now, acid eats away, and the past tense of eat is ate. So anything that's been ate, that has been eaten or eaten, means it's acidic, right? So ate is also acidic, right? Because it's ate, right? You also have osis, like halitosis, right? People have bad breath, halitosis, and you have os, like glucose, dextrose, maltose, right? These are all sugars, and sugars eat away, right? So understand these are all the different endings for the word acid. So anytime you ever see chemistry or anybody, you ever see anything with these endings, automatically know that it means it's acidic. Automatically. Okay, so if you look on the back of, let's say, a bag of chips, and it says sunflower oil and dextrose, that means the oil's ready rancid. So it means it's ready acidic. And then you have the dextrose or maltose, which is a derivative of corn oil or modified corn, which is also a sugar, which is also acidic. So understand this science, okay? So anytime you eat anything that's fried, it's automatically acidic and it has no nutrients, which means you're not consuming anything healthy, which means it's going to make you fat, going to make you sick, and it's going to eat away the inside of your body, right? So this equals what? No nutrients, right? No nutrients. Now let me just explain something else. What is your body? Isn't your body 70 or 80% water? Now most of your body's not that much water because you've been consuming acidic food all your life. And you already know acid also consumes water, right? That's why you have a hydrate, right? A hydrate is an atom that consumes water, right? Hydro means water and ate means to consume. So hydrate means water, a molecule that consumes water. Like a carbohydrate, it makes you fat because it takes away the water and it replaces it with fat. So that's why you have carbohydrate. Let me just write that down. Carbo, which is a carbon atom. Carbohydrate, high, and then drate, right? So hydro, so this means water. And then this means to consume. And then this means carbon atom, which is flesh, right? Okay, so you have the carbon atom, water atom, and it's being consumed. So you have a flesh-eating atom that consumes water, which is called a carbohydrate. All right, and if you also look at the word hydra is also the name of a 6 or 7-headed snake. All right. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into that, but let's just say. Right? I will get into it. Now, if you notice, parasites are always in the shape of a what? Of a worm, right? Parasites are always in the shape of a worm, right? And let me just put a little face here, right? So this is a parasite, which is always in the shape of a worm. And a parasite can also be considered a mini snake, right? Because that's exactly what it is, right? And we all know that snakes, right, according to the so-called Bible, right, snakes are tricky and they feed off of other living things, right? And if you look at the Bible, right, wasn't Eve tricked by a talking snake? And if you look at the word snacks, right, snacks is considered junk food, right? Snacks, right, all equals junk food because you don't need it, that's why it's called junk. And so are snacks, right? And snacks. Now, if you look at the word snacks, it also could be pronounced snake, right? Snack, snake. And anything that's a snake is a parasite, and it leaches your nutrients off of you, right? So you have snake here, and you have a parasite, which is also a snake, and you have a hydra, which is also a fucking snake. Okay? So again, just showing you the wordplay here. Anyway, let me get on with the lesson. So, if your body is what? 70% water, right? So if you're 70% water, right? And you're eating fried food your whole life, right? French fries, eating fried chicken, right? Eating fried chicken, eating fried meat, eating chips, donuts, all this nonsense, which is made with oil, which is already acidic, which I just explained, and your body's 70% water. And we all know that when we was in elementary school or junior high school, we was taught that what? Water and oil don't mix. So look, let me show this to you real quick. If water and oil don't mix, right? Let's just say this is a cup, right? This is the water, right? And this is oil, right? So if water and oil don't mix, then how the hell are you consuming fried food that's made in oil? It doesn't make no sense. It doesn't even go together. Water and oil do not mix. This is why you have what's called plaque, tartar, arteriosclerosis, right? Again, that goes that word osis, right? Arteriosclerosis, which is the hardening of the veins, and which is really plaque buildup, right? Which is really solidified oil. Now, if you ever, let's just say, consume, butter, right? Butter is nothing but oil that has been solidified, which is called hydrogenated, right? So butter is oil that's been solidified, because you know oil is liquid, right? So if oil is liquid, right? Oil equals liquid. But then they trick you by making the oil what? Oil equals solid now. So they're solidifying the oil, which means hydrogenated. Again, that goes the word hydro. Hydrogenated oil, which is oil that's been solidified, right? Which is what you call butter, right? And all these trans fats, right? Also known as trans fat, okay? Trans fat, or what? Saturated fat, or any other type of fat, right? Cholesterol, right? You have all these different. This is the word. This is how they trick you. This is how the people who so-called make up all these rules, right? This is how they trick you. They trick you by making up all these different words and mumbo jumbo to confuse you when they're talking about the same goddamn thing, right? Cholesterol, bad cholesterol, trans fat, saturated fat, hydrogenated oils, right? That's all plaque, right? That's all the same fucking thing, which means solidified oil or solidified poop. It's all the same thing, right? Because once you ever worked at McDonald's? I never worked at McDonald's, but let's just say you worked at any fast food restaurant or any restaurant, period, right? And you ever notice, like, if you go to, let's just say, McDonald's, right, and you order some fries, and if you notice if you go late, that oil is really black and look dirty and it stinks, right? And that oil's like been sitting there all day, and what do you call it? They call it rancid, right? Now it's funny, rancid oil is bad, right? Because it starts to get hard, right? So rancid oil, right? Rancid. And then you have the word id, ID, which is rancid, which is again I right here. So you have the word id right here, which can show you that it's freaking acidic. Okay? So rancid oil is pretty much oil that's been sitting there all day, is bad, and it's starting to harden, and it's starting to become hydrogenated. And anything that's hydrogenated oil becomes solid at room temperature. So notice plant oils like vegetable oil, coconut oil, grapeseed oil, flaxseed oil, all of these oils stay liquid in the body at room temperature, right? So let me just show you. I have right here what's called grapeseed oil, and see, this is obviously it's room temperature in here. I don't have no air conditioner on, right? And if you notice, look at the oil. It is liquid at room temperature, right? But if you take some oil that's not plant-based, it's going to become solid at room temperature, right? And that means that once it enters your body, it's going to become hard. It's going to turn into plaque, and anything that's turns to plaque in your body is going to clog your arteries, and this is what's going to cause constipation, circulation issues, and it's going to lead into what? heart attack, stroke, aneurysms, and poor circulation, which means you're going to become fat, slow, sluggish, and you're going to have bad skin and acne, right? So this all, just understand that all of this ties into your health. This is why it's very important to stop eating meat and French fries and burgers and chips and chicken and meat and junk food and snacks and snakes, right? Stop eating all this nonsense because it's all becoming acid in your body, and anything that's acidic eats away flesh. Okay? This is why you're supposed to consume. Notice, anytime you eat a big ass steak or chicken, whatever, you get tired afterward. You get what's called itis, right? Itis, which sounds like osis, right? So understand, you become tired and sluggish because your body is using up so much energy just to push out that acidic ass food out of your body, right? And if you all know, most of the food that's acidic is highly saturated, right? Saturated fat, right? It's saturated in oil, and oil is pure fat. That's what it is. If you consume butter, right? Butter is just oil that's just been solidified. That's all it is. So understand that butter and oil is the same fucking thing. It's just that one is liquid and one is solid. And once it enters into your body, it all becomes solid, and this is what you call plaque. And this leads to a whole bunch of health issues. Not only that, your body is 70% water. So if your body's 70% water, then how the hell are you putting oil in it? Because oil and water don't fucking mix. So your body has to try its hardest, right, to just get rid of this oil. And the oil, the organ in your body that gets rid of oil is called your liver. Your liver produces what's called bile, and this bile turns oil into hydrogenated oil, which it makes oil solid, so that way it can be broken down. Because you can't break down anything that's liquid, right? You can't break down water, right? You ever try to break down water? You can't. It's water. So in order to break down water, you have to make it solid first, right? Now you can break down ice, but you can't break down water. So your body has to turn the oil into hydrogenated oil, which is done by the liver, right? And it's funny because once you destroy your liver, you die. Your liver is called a liver because it's living. So once you destroy your liver, what's the opposite of living? Is death, right? So the opposite of living is death. So if you destroy your liver, which means you're no longer living, then you next thing after that is death. I mean, that's the only two options, right? It's either you're alive or you're dead, right? It's either hot or cold, left, right, up, down, right, fast, slow. It's the opposite extremes of the same goddamn pole. See, this side represents life, right? This is life, and this side represents death. So if you want to die, and if you like living young, dying young, and you like, having a whole bunch of health problems, then go ahead and keep eating this acidic ass food. Go ahead and keep eating macaroni and cheese, collard greens, neck bones, all this cooked ass food that has no fucking nutrients in it, no nutrients whatsoever. And the only thing that can keep you alive is nutrients. If you look at the word nutrients, it also sounds like neutral. Nutrients, nuclei, neutral, nature, nectar, nourishment. All starts with a freaking N. And if you notice, it's right in the middle, which means it's neither positive nor negative, and it's neutral. And neutral means it's balanced. It means it has a little bit of negative and positive in it, right? This means balance. And if you notice, it's green. And what color are plants? Plants are also green. So that's why it's supposed to consume plants, right? Because plants are also green, and plants are neutral, and plants is the only thing that have nutrients in it. Anything else outside of eating natural from nature doesn't have any nutrients in it. So I'm gonna just write this down. So you got neutral, nature, nucleus, nutrients, netter, or NTR, right? They all mean the same thing, because nutrients come from nature and they nourish you. So plants are neutral, they come from nature. Inside of the plants is a nucleus, they contain the nutrients and they nourish your body, which is the ancients called netter. Man, alright, so stop consuming the oil. I'm gonna end it here. I don't want to make it too long. It's already about 30 minutes, so I'm gonna stop it here. Stop consuming the oil, because oil and water don't mix, and the only way for your body to break down oil is to turn it into hydrogenated oil and to break it down using bile in the what? In the liver, right? And if you overexhaust the liver, then you stop living, because your liver is one of the most important organs in your body that filters out all the harmful toxins, right? Just like when you consume alcohol, which is also toxic. I don't understand how we've been taught from birth to just go to a bar and listen to satanic music and to consume death, which is called alcohol. And that's why, when you consume alcohol, you're under the influence of evil spirits. That's why it's another name for alcohol is called spirit. So when you drink alcohol, you're under the influence of what? It's funny how people say you're under the influence of a liquid. I drink water all the time. The water doesn't influence me. How does a substance, a beverage, or liquid influences you? It doesn't. What it does is, when you consume alcohol is actually a potion. It's called an elixir, and this potion suppresses. That's why it's called a depressant, because it's depressing, is suppressing your mental consciousness. And anytime you suppress your consciousness, you pretty much become an empty vessel that's not being controlled. It's like a car with no driver, and these evil spirits can come in and take over. That's why you black out and you don't remember, because it wasn't you. Oh, I don't remember doing that. Oh, I don't remember saying that. Oh my gosh, she's so quiet, but she got turned up last night. It wasn't her. She never acted, because it wasn't you. So when you consume alcohol, you become under the influence of demonic spirits. That's why another name for alcohol is called wine and spirits. And you do stuff that you don't normally do, because there's another entity that's inhabiting your body, that's taken over, and is having a party in your body. And then when the entity leaves you, right, it's called blacking out, because you blacked out. You became pretty much you shut down your mental consciousness. Anyway, I want to get into that. It's another lesson for another time, another day. But anyway, is fried food healthy? The answer is no. Stop consuming fried foods. As I just explained briefly, all fried food is acidic. Anything that's acidic eats away at the body. And if your body becomes heavily punctured with holes, right? Because when the acid eats away, it's burning little tiny holes in your body. Your body can no longer function. It becomes weak, right? And you destroy your liver. And once your liver is destroyed, you end up dying. Okay? So if you don't want to have a premature death, if you want to live a long, healthy life, then start consuming plants and food that's alkaline, so you can stay in line with the alka, which is also the alpha, right? Alpha and the omega stay in line with the alpha, so you can become neutral, right? And you can balance out your scales. All right, peace.